CNN tries to bait Bernie Sanders into a beef with Dr. Cornel West. Oh, man. So in this video, I'm going to talk about a recent interview that Dana Bash did with Bernie Sanders where they tried to play the old rile him up. But before we do that, my name is Tim Black. Welcome back to the show. If you're following Cornel West's campaign, you want to follow this channel. And do it now, because I am the guy that's reporting on Dr. Cornel West from the beginning to the end and all things in between. So CNN's Dana Bash tries to bait Bernie Sanders into a beef with Dr. West over his Breakfast Club interview. During that interview, Charlamagne asked Dr. West, hey, what do you think about Bernie Sanders not supporting you but endorsing Biden? And Cornel West, you know his response. It was always respectful. He's like, hey, Bernie Sanders, I love him like a brother, but we disagree on some things. I think Bernie Sanders is concerned with Trump. He don't want Trump to get reelected. And then he went on to make some other comments, but I don't believe those comments were really directed towards Bernie. They were just generally about how the Democrats are not keeping it a buck, keeping it real, about really how bad Biden's doing. Right? He's saying that people need to be more truthful about Biden. This is not the best economy that we can have. People say Biden's economy is amazing. It ain't so amazing when most of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. How is that amazing? And to that's when Bernie comes in and he responds, now, will Bernie take the bait and go after Dr. West on this false narrative made up by CNN?
Well, my reaction is this certainly is not the best economy that we can create. That was what my speech was about yesterday. We've got to join the rest of the industrialized world, guarantee health care to all. We've got to cut the cost of prescription drugs in half. We've got to raise the minimum wage to at least $17 an hour. We've got to build the affordable housing we desperately need. But where I disagree with my good friend, Cornel West, is I think in these really very difficult times where there is a real question whether democracy is going to remain in the United States of America. Donald Trump is not somebody who believes in democracy, whether women are going to be able to continue to control their own bodies, whether we have social justice in America, we end bigotry. Around that, I think we have got to bring the entire progressive community to defeat Trump or whoever the Republican nominee will be. Support Biden, but at the same time, which is what I did yesterday, is demand that the Democratic Party, not just Biden, have the guts to take on corporate greed and the massive levels of income and wealth inequality that we see today.
I want you to know this thing with inflation is a real thing. I know you hear Republicans say it, but you don't really believe it because you think, it's Fox News junk. The Wall Street Journal reports the average American is paying over $276 a month more due to inflation. Now, you don't see it all in one shot. It's a little bit more on the mortgage, or a little bit more on the rent, a little bit more on the gas, a little bit more on the food, a little bit more on everything that you do every day, compounded to the bottom line is people are losing around $276 a month. You do the math on that. Americans are not better off under Biden than they should be, okay? So Bernie says we got to get Joe Biden back because we got to keep democracy. Democracy, is that what we got, Bernie, a democracy? I'm not so sure that's what we got. I think we got ourselves a republic that's with democracy tendencies, occasionally. But this is not a democracy when we can't decide for ourselves if we're going to have Black history in our schools. This is not a democracy when we can't decide if we're going to treat each other respectfully. We got Black people getting gunned down at supermarkets. That's not a democracy. We don't have a democracy, Bernie, when people can't vote unencumbered, without suppression. We don't have a democracy when people are not being able to afford representation. So we don't have a democracy. And the biggest whopper right here, Bernie, and I got to check Bernie on this, and this is from somebody who supported Bernie in 2016 and 2020, brother. Do not tell Black people that we got to get Biden back if we want social justice, because Joe Biden has done nothing for social justice at all except sell it. Sell it and use it to run on, but not actually provide social justice. Joe Biden and Kamala said this country is not a racist country, so they don't know what we're talking about. Then they go in front of Black people and say it is a racist country, and white supremacy is our biggest threat. So which one is it? So you can't tell me that. And please, Johnson, I know I must have misheard you when you said we got to get Joe Biden back if we want to end bigotry.
Whether we have social justice in America, we end bigotry.
Having Joe Biden in office is the biggest sign of bigotry that I've seen in a while. Well, at least for the last couple of years. So, yeah, this idea that people got to coalesce around Joe Biden don't make sense to me. You know, coalesce means we come together, we unite, we form around it. What is there about Joe Biden that we want to form around? The only reason why people elected Joe Biden is because they wanted to get rid of Trump. But there is nothing inspiring about Joe Biden. People are inspired by their best interests being met. And what is being met by the best interests of having Joe Biden in office? All people are going to say is, Tim Black, what about the alternative? What about the alternative? Well, that's what we're saying, Bernie Sanders. The alternative could be Dr. Cornel West. Same thing when you were saying the alternative could be Bernie Sanders. That was a better alternative than Joe Biden. And it's a shame that Bernie Sanders will be out here trying to sell us a snake oil in order to help Biden and help the Democrats. Come on, Bernie, you know better than this. The biggest indicator that you are shoveling some manure at us when you're saying we need to support Biden if we want to maintain this standard of living is that the same things that you're saying are wrong now that need to be implemented are the same things you said in 2020 and 2016. They haven't been implemented up to this point. So what's going to change if you re-elect Biden? Is he going to implement the things he said he was going to implement in 2020? Are the Democrats going to implement the things that they said that they were going to fight for, that they haven't been fighting for? That they're scared to fight for? People are not courageous, Bernie. You know that. And some of the comments that you're making here, Bernie, I'm wondering if you're courageous.
Well, my reaction is that certainly is not the best economy that we can create. That was what my speech was about yesterday. We've got to join the rest of the industrialized world, guarantee health care to all. We've got to cut the cost of prescription drugs in half. We've got to raise the minimum wage to at least $17 an hour. We've got to build the affordable housing we desperately need.
We got a lot of Democratic operatives out here telling us that, yeah, we're doing great under Biden. And Biden's got the Bidenomics working, but those Bidenomics are not working for regular people. We're not benefiting from those. They say, oh, man, the unemployment rate is low. Yeah, but what kind of jobs do people have? Can they support a family off these jobs? Are people able to pay their bills? What about the housing issues? Is that turning around under Biden or is it getting worse? Is it staying the same? Sounds like it's staying the same. Delivering Uber is not a career path. I know Obama made it a career path, but it's not a sustainable career path for people trying to build families and take care of their families and keep them housed. So these are the issues that are concerning Americans. So when you say keep Biden, why other than to keep him? Like keeping an old pair of jeans that you no longer fit. They're unuseful. Bernie wants us to coalesce around Biden, but he gives us no tangible reasons other than fear of Trump. Orange man bad. Fascism is bad. What about what can we move towards that's good? That's what motivates people as well. Moving towards something good. Move towards the good thing, the thing you want to go after. So that's what we're looking for. And that alternative right now was Dr. Cornel West. It is not going backwards to Joe Biden. Everybody gets to make their own decisions here. But Bernie Sanders, I'm disappointed in this. I love that Bernie Sanders championed for health care. I love that he was fighting for livable wage, but let's keep it real. The Democratic Party is not the party for the working people. They're not the party for the unions at all. Biden is not connected at all with union workers. He just used that fake persona of he's riding the Amtrak train. What's he doing for the working people? A Washington Post poll recently came out to show that 49% of black Americans say their life has not improved under Biden. 45% of white people said the same thing. So that's a lot of coalescing around an idea that we ain't too happy with Biden. They don't want Trump back, but they don't want Biden back either. And that's the thing. That's where we are. And Bernie seems like he's trying to say that you ain't got a choice. You got to have Biden back. And I'm saying we do have a choice. We got to make a different choice. And that's what America's saying. Not just what I'm saying. That's what America is saying. The people are saying this. Bernie Sanders has a great idea. Some great ideas. With the Medicare for all, with everyone having access to health care. Not just access to it, you can get it if you can afford it. No, access and actually having a thing that you need to save your life and prolong your life. That's the thing, and being able to afford the medications. So Bernie Sanders was way ahead of them on this game. But what has Biden done towards that means? Nothing. What has he done towards making that a reality? He fell down on student loan debt. He fell down on Voting Rights Act. He would not go against the filibuster to get those things done for us. What about criminal justice reform? What about small business loans? What about focusing on black and poor black people? What about focusing on black Americans? What about focusing on black Americans? What about focusing on black Americans? I did not hit repeat. I'm saying it 3 times. The number one constituency, the one that put him in office. What about that, Bernie? And not just Bernie. What about that, Democrats? What about that, Biden? What about that? CNN's Dana Bash is trying to pit us against Bernie Sanders when really what they should be trying to do is pit Biden against the issues we told him to address before we elected him, and that he committed to addressing that he has not addressed. And that's where the focus should be. Not on trying to create a sensational headline or clickbait on Bernie versus Cornel West. It ain't about these two men. It's about what Biden and his administration, with all the powers and all the strength of the Oval Office, he ain't getting it done for working people, for poor people, for black people, for struggling people out there all across America. And it's going to show in these polls, but it's also going to show in that election day. And when that happens, it'll be because Biden didn't do his job. And some people that are afraid of losing their jobs didn't force him to. All right, guys, my name is Tim Black. Subscribe to this channel like your life depends on it, because it does, and not just yours, your children's as well. We need to fight back against the powers that be. Let's do it together. Remember, like I always say, it's a new day. Cornel West.